What's going on, everyone? It's the Fantasy Football Almanac, back at it with another fantasy football video. Today we're going to be discussing more free agents from the 2023 NFL free agency, an absolutely crazy free agency, one of the best in recent memory. But before we get into it, if you guys could, go down and give this video a like. I'm answering every single comment. So you guys have any fantasy football questions, love talking about fantasy football, go down below, ask me anything, whether it be dynasty, trades, anything. Would love to help you all out, and subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on so you don't miss another video. But with that, guys, let's hop right into it, discussing our first player in Darren Waller. So the first player I want to talk about, again, is Darren Waller. And as a Giants fan, this move absolutely stunned me. I did not think we were in the market at all for a tight end, much less Darren Waller, a 30-year-old tight end. But honestly, the more I think about it, the happier I am with the move. The contract seems good enough. We can get out after 2 or so years. And I think from a fantasy perspective, this is absolutely fine because the only other tight end of this offense is Daniel Bellinger. And while Daniel Bellinger had a promising rookie year, I don't think he's much of a threat, especially when you trade a third-round pick for a guy like Darren Waller. The team obviously has plans to use him as the primary receiving tight end in this offense. I have no doubt about that. And Darren Waller had a very productive couple seasons, but has a career history of being injured. Overall, though, I do think this move is good for quite a few people. I mean, first of all, Daniel Jones has to get a bump up here. I mean, getting arguably one of the best receiving tight ends in the league. I mean, 2 back-to-back 1,100, almost 1,200-yard seasons before dealing with tons of injuries and kind of going down to that. But because Darren Waller is such a dominant target threat, I am a little bit worried about guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and them moving forward. But also, I think this does help out the Raiders, freeing up some targets for a guy like Jacoby Myers. We know Devontae Adams is getting 31% of the team's target share, without a doubt. But this does free up some target share for Jacoby Myers, which I think is fine and definitely needed in this offense. Also, Hunter Renfrow as well could potentially get a little something, but I think at this point, you bring in Jacoby Myers, he's going to be the guy over Hunter Renfrow. I think that's pretty certain with the type of deal that Jacoby Myers signed. Sticking with the Giants real quick, the Giants did bring in Parris Campbell as well, and I think this is a nice little signing, but I figured I just wanted to bring it up. I think it's fine. Probably a better move for Parris Campbell, although I don't really see Parris Campbell as fantasy relevant. Unless you're in a very deep dynasty league, then maybe he's like your 5th flex or something, but nothing crazy. Before I move on to the next guy, I just wanted to let you know I did post a video talking about Aaron Rodgers and a lot of the other day one free agents, the havoc that happened in day one. It should be linked somewhere over here. I'm not exactly sure where, but you guys can check it out if you're interested in some of my other takes on the other recent free agents. But now let's get into Miles Sanders. I think it was pretty much expected that the Eagles were going to move on from Miles Sanders. I mean, he was going to command a decent amount of money, and the Eagles were kind of stretched for cap as it is. And this is even before them signing Jalen Hurts and a ton of other people that they need to sign over the next year or two. But Miles Sanders gets 4 years, $25 million, which is about in line with what you would expect from the running back market. I mean, it's a little over $6 million a year, which I think is fine for the running back position. And the Panthers did need a running back, especially after moving on from Foreman. So I think it's a fine play for them to go out and get Miles Sanders. I mean, most likely after their trade up, which I do want to talk about later on in this video because I have not talked about it yet in a video. But after moving up for the number 1 overall pick, they're obviously going for a quarterback in this year's draft, whether it be Stroud, whether it be AR, whether it be Bryce Young, we don't know, but they're definitely moving up for a quarterback and getting a weapon for your newfound quarterback. It's always a good thing, especially after they lose DJ Moore in the trade itself. You know what, honestly, I'll just talk about it now. I think that trade was absolutely wild. I mean, it makes sense for both sides to go ahead and make this trade, but I think the Bears got a haul. At first, I didn't think it was really that great of a package. I was expecting a little bit more. But after factoring in the value of DJ Moore for the team, I think it was absolutely great trade. Just go over the details of the trade quick for those who didn't see. I'm sure pretty much everyone saw it, but just in case you didn't, Panthers got the number 1 pick, and the Bears got the 9th pick, the 61st pick, 2024 first-round pick, a 2025 second-round pick, and DJ Moore, all to move back down to pick 9. And the thing is, for the Bears' perspective, just from a regular football perspective, not a fantasy football perspective, they do lose out on the top 2 defensive prospects in Jalen Carter and Will Anderson. That 2024 first-round pick might be pretty good. I mean, we don't know. I'll get into what I think about the Panthers in a second, but I think it was a good trade for the Bears. As for the Panthers, I think this was an absolutely phenomenal move. I mean, they are in the weakest division in the NFL by far. Realistically, the Falcons, I don't think, pose a huge threat. Although I do like Arthur Smith as a run-first head coach, I'm just not sure they have the talent to necessarily get there. especially with their lack of quarterback. I was never really a Heineke fan, and I don't really think Desmond Ridder is all that great. The Saints, with Derek Carr now, they're probably the favorite to win the division, but it's not really saying much, especially considering the Buccaneers' best quarterback is Baker Mayfield. They're not really in a position to win. They let go of Donovan Smith. They still have a good team, but I just think they don't really have the quarterback unless Baker Mayfield finally comes out of the woodworks and decides to be great. Don't think it's going to happen, though, after last year. 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not really that great of a quarterback. And the Panthers have a sneaky good defense, in my opinion. So I think they have the ability to win the division. They were just a quarterback away. I think it was a good move to secure the quarterback of the future. Because, at the same time, you never know when you're picking like this high again. You might not be picking top 10 next year. You might not be picking top 10 for the next 5 years. So you never know when you're going to have the opportunity to pick a great prospect. So why not go out and try and get the number 1 overall pick? The next guy I'm going to talk about is Ezekiel Elliott. And while he doesn't have a destination yet, he was just released from the Cowboys, which I think makes the Cowboys a pretty interesting destination for a potential running back to be drafted there. Because we know they are a run-first offense at heart. We know that's how McCarthy is as a coach. And they also bring in Brian Schottenheimer, proving that they want to run. I could easily see them going with a running back in the first or second round, because that's the offense they want to run. And we will see Tony Pollard get a huge uptick up in work. That's for sure. We've seen Tony Pollard come onto the scene and be a dominant running back, a very explosive running back at that. The next few players I want to talk about, they don't have much fantasy relevance, and thus I will go through them pretty quick. First, Jacoby Brissett going to the Commanders. I think this is a pretty interesting move because Jacoby Brissett was actually pretty decent as a quarterback last year. I think he was better than a lot of people were giving him credit for. Despite the fact that he was just a bridge quarterback for Deshaun Watson, I think he was pretty good. And now he goes to the Commanders, who I think actually have one of the most slept-on receiving corps in the entire league. One of the most overall slept-on teams in the entire league. I think Jacoby Brissett will continue to perform with the Commanders. I think it's an interesting situation, although this does probably mean they're out of the Lamar Jackson lottery. I think it's absolutely fine for the Commanders. Next, we got James Robinson going to the Patriots. I think this move could create headaches because the Patriots always like to confuse fantasy managers by bringing in a ton of different running backs and having a ton of different running backs for different situations, which really makes fantasy management a hassle because you never know when it's going to be Damian Harris's week or Ramondre Stevenson's week. Ramondre Stevenson has been consistently utilized in the offense over the past year, but it just is a little concerning overall with the fact that they bring in another running back here. Next, we got Foreman signing with the Bears, which makes perfect sense. You can't get rid of your main running back or your secondary running back and not bring in someone else at least to help. But this is a promising sign because Foreman is not a huge threat to Khalil Herbert. I think he will take volume, obviously. I don't think it's going to be a massive workload's worth of volume. I think with a move like this, it shows that Khalil Herbert will most likely be the dominant running back, which is great in a run-first offense. The next guy I want to talk about is Jamaal Williams, and the Saints bring in Jamaal Williams because we don't know what's going on with the Alvin Kamara situation. We don't even know if Alvin Kamara is going to be a good running back in the NFL anymore. Had 2 years of pretty bad fantasy production and NFL production. So we see the Saints bring in Jamaal Williams, which makes sense, honestly, because the Saints running back room is arguably one of the worst in the leagues. Behind Alvin Kamara, you have Dwayne Washington and Eno Benjamin. Not guys you're going to be writing home about, not guys you're going to be excited about for fantasy or just regular football in general. So they bring in Jamaal Williams as a nice stability back. It makes sense. I think this could actually raise Jamaal Williams' stock a little bit in fantasy because if Alvin Kamara is suspended, I think Jamaal Williams will have a pretty prominent role in this offense. And now with Derek Carr there, a guy who can check it down, and we saw Josh Jacobs have a lot of success with, I think it's absolutely fine. Last guy I want to talk about is Chase Edmonds. I figured I'd just throw him on the end of the list here. The Buccaneers have Rachaad White, but they did release Leonard Fournette, so maybe there is an opportunity for Chase Edmonds to get some work. Although, not likely. I just wanted to throw him in at the end just to discuss him a little bit. But that's going to be it for the video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, go give this video a like. I'm answering every comment. And subscribe to the channel. Turn that notification bell on. And as always, have a good day, a good night, and a good life.